Good evening and welcome to the May 6th Historic Preservation Commission meeting. We'll start with a roll call. Chris, could you do a roll?
Scott Allen.
Present.
Casey Sampson.
Present.
Andrew Anderson.
Present.
Nicole Weddington.
I don't see any old business to come from the commission. We'll start with new business, which is a certificate of appropriateness for 104 East Washington, the Lebanon Public Library.
Good evening, Commission. Thank you for making the accommodations tonight to have a special meeting so we can keep this project moving forward, adjusting it from our regular meeting to tonight. So I will read through the staff report. There's a lot going on here, or there appears to be a lot going on. I know the plans are pretty detailed, but actually it's a relatively straightforward application. So I'll run through the staff report. I'm not going to go through the detail of every single plant that's changing in the landscape portion of the project. I'll touch on the highlights, answer any questions you have. The architect could not be here tonight, but the site engineer is here. And he can answer any questions that you might have for him. So we'll get through the staff report and we'll go from there. So tonight, the applicant before you is the Lebanon Public Library. The address is 104 East Washington Street, and the property is zoned central business. This property has not been before the Historic Preservation Commission. The building is contributing. Contributing is a building which is less than 50 years old and which is compatible with its historic surroundings, or a building which is over 40 years old and whose historic character remains but does not rise to the level of notable or outstanding. This building is included in the National Register of Historic Places Lebanon Courthouse Square Historic District. And I do apologize. I promised I'd come up with an acronym for that, and I still have not yet. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory, though. So the action requested tonight is a certificate of appropriateness for landscape, signage, and vestibule remodel. The applicant is seeking approval for site and window renovations. The most significant change is the glazing and doors to the vestibule. The door system is being upgraded to automatic sliding doors to improve accessibility. The existing vestibule entrances on the east and west facing sides are being removed and replaced with windows. The replacement glazing and vestibule windows have mutton details that will match the windows around the building. Windows on the second floor, northwest side of the building, the original library, are being replaced with windows which have a mutton style found around the rest of the building. Two basement windows on the southeast corner of the original library that were boarded over during the expansion will be opened and replaced with a window style that matches the basement windows found on the southwest corner of the original building. There are several windows around the building that are being replaced with like-for-like windows, which is considered maintenance. The sign will move from the current location just west of the vestibule to the southwest corner of the property, which is the northeast corner of Meridian and Washington intersection. A vast majority of the landscape is being replaced. Planning details are found on the attached plan. In addition to the landscape, irrigation is being added as part of the renovation. Staff recommendation. Although the vestibule glazing is being remodeled, staff does not believe the proposed windows have a negative impact on the structure. The original footprint of the Carnegie Library remains today. However, the vast square footage of the building is a modern structure built in 2004. The changes, the changes to the glazing are complementary to the existing features. The change to the landscaping is an enhancement to the current conditions. A monument sign in the district is unique. The new location of the sign is acceptable. In this case, the proposed sign is internally lit. The practicality of an externally lit monument sign is not ideal, being so close to the pedestrian walkways. Staff supports the internally lit sign for this project with this specific location. Keep that in mind. Staff believes the proposed changes to the structure and site do not have a negative impact on the building or the district. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the COA application as submitted. I am happy to go through any of the plans that you would like me to go through to highlight what I've talked about. I presume you've all had the chance to look at them. I'll let you lead the conversation from here if you have any questions for me, or if you have any questions for the applicant's representative.
All right, thank you, Derek. Any questions for Derek or the applicant? Is the sign just being moved then, where it's not a new monument sign?
It is a new monument sign.
A new monument
Yes,
sign,
but
okay.
the location is being moved.
Okay, and are there any renderings of the new monument sign yet?
There are. Let me see if I can pull those up for you, Casey. I did not include that in your packet. It's the same exact style of sign, almost identical. If you want me to, I can dig deep here and pull those out, or you can take my word for it, and I can promise you it is basically the same dimensions, same size, almost the same face, everything. It's just being relocated to the corner.
Okay, it's just one-sided then?
Yes.
Okay. Is that currently illuminated 24/7?
I don't know about 24/7, but it is illuminated at night.
All night then, is that correct?
I believe so. I don't know that it has a timer on it, but I believe it's illuminated from dusk to dawn. Nicole, as an employee of the library, would you have any idea?
Former employee.
Former employee.
Yes. I believe it was on a timer at one point, set to turn off with some other external lights. But I haven't been an employee for almost 3 years, so I don't know. But I believe at one time it was on a timer.
It just wasn't, just because the externally lit signs aren't really popular in our commission. I didn't know if there was any regulation on that. Since it's moving and we're doing that, if there was any thought on that, if there's any standard or what that would fall into. I'm not sure because it's not something we deal with regularly.
Yeah, you can get into when you start crossing over to the ordinance, the Unified Development Ordinance side of the city. There are some illumination standards, but it's with basically spillage, light pollution, and regardless of what kind of timer this sign lightage is on, it would still have to meet the standards of ensuring that lights do not spill across the property line. In this case, which with the amount of street lights around this area, to be honest with you, it'd be really, really tough to isolate that light from that sign to determine if it was spilling or not. So with it being adjacent to roadways, this is not going to be like an offensive type of, I can name 1,000 businesses that you see on the interstate with flashing lights and other things, sure. Some appropriate, some not. But this will not be a sign that would be inappropriate as far as light.
Okay, thank you.
Spillage. Yep.
I just had a quick question. So in the application, the sliding doors, it was mentioned that the thought is that this will improve accessibility. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming the current doors are handicap accessible. So I'm not trying to be negative Nelly here, but just kind of wondering how will this really improve accessibility?
Yeah, so Scott, that's a good question. Accessibility changes all the time. And, accessibility, practicality is always a conversation. I believe the current doors have an automatic button that you can push to open and close the doors, Nicole. Thank you. And that can be a little cumbersome. The ideal situation is to have a door that is touchless, that opens with sensors, so that you're just simply walking through and not having to, hit a button. Sometimes those buttons can be difficult for people who are sight impaired to find. depending on where they're at. So, excuse me. Certainly somebody who's sight impaired, a door that slides automatically is a better scenario.
Makes sense.
I can also speak to those doors. The only one door is automated. It is the east side door of the vestibule. And it's there's two buttons. It's only that exterior east side door and then the interior door on the right. Both have to be hit by a button, one button outside, then another button inside the vestibule. Same with when you're trying to exit. There's a button inside the library to access that first door. It is very cumbersome. Also, the doors that face directly south, the two double doors that you see when you're passing on Washington Street, for several years, we were unable to open, I think it's the one to the left, to the west, because when the building settled after some time, after the 2004 renovation, it wasn't graded properly. So especially in the winter, we physically could not open that door. And it became very common, not just for employees, but for bringing in transit books, big carts of things, any type of shipments that we couldn't receive from our back loading dock. In addition to just handicapped patrons having accessibility to the building. And then sometimes just human error. If an employee doesn't manually trip those doors to open with a key, then sometimes the handicap door could go unable to be used for a whole day till somebody realizes that it was never unlocked, which I'm sure that there will still be some sort of mechanism that someone will have to physically unlock it for an automated door. But some people it was a trickier system. Some employees would think that they had unlocked the door, and then hours would go by before someone would be like, hey, your automated door, like one part would be open. Someone wouldn't have truly unlocked it thinking they had. And so I just know that this would probably alleviate a lot of that for a lot of people.
And I'll echo those. I mean, as the ADA coordinator for the city, I can tell you that the current standards, meet the requirements, but the proposed renovations are certainly an improvement, and we'll make it easier for people to have accessibility to inside the building.
Good to know. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for staff or the applicant at this time? With that, I would entertain a motion on the certificate of appropriateness.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, seeking a second.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Not seeing any other items on new business, we'll move to other business, which is any staff issued COA reports. Is there any reports? Mr. Warren?
There have not been any staff issued COAs. There are several that are going back and forth right now, so none to report this month, but possibly at the next meeting.
Thank you. Any other items to come before the Board of Commission? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make that motion to adjourn.
And I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you very much. We'll see you next month.